Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker, speaker, author, and trainer with SoaringHigher.rocks, and I'm happy to be here today and talk to you a little bit more from my book, Hope at the End of Your Rope, Steps to Rebuild Your Life. And I know these steps on a personal basis, and so I'm going to continue on with this. And I've been through soaring up to wholeness, soaring from the pit to the mountaintop. All things work together for good, and hope leaves the past for a new beginning. So I'm going to complete that one before we talk about healing from loss and some of the other areas that we all seem to struggle with at times. Okay, so this one is actually overcoming the demons that seem to keep us captive in our minds and keep us from accomplishing the things that we would love to do. Now really it's thought patterns, what we think, we become, we do, and then lifestyle behaviors that can make us or break us. Okay, so a lot of the things, one of the biggest one is fear. Fear is something that will actually just paralyze us. And that's so tough to deal with, and it could keep us captive and keep us from accomplishing what we've been equipped to do by the Lord, for instance. And there's a scripture that says, the eyes of the Lord move to and fro throughout the earth, that he may strongly support those whose hearts are completely his. And when we give our hearts to God, it is a miracle what he will do for us. And I know that firsthand too. And so it's keeping our eyes on him will keep the fear that's happening in our lives, from overtaking us. And that is so very important with that fear. We're afraid of failure, we're afraid of rejection, we're afraid of being able to do anything that we feel we're not really equipped to do. And I love that saying that's gone around a lot. People say, no, just repeat to yourself, I'm enough. Well, I say, tell yourself you are more than enough. Because so many times we don't think we're enough. We don't think we're as good as someone else or being able to accomplish certain things that other people can. But I've seen too many miracle stories to know that that's not really true. So keep your eyes on him, and that way you're not repeating the past either. Because that is something that I've literally done all my life. And so a lot of times we get in those and we don't know how to get out of those mindsets, those lifestyles. And so think about that again. God will support us. And I mentioned this last time, but again, it has a lot of meaning to it. So what does that mean? It means to bear the weight of the problems, the weight of the pain, that he will help bear the weight of, to hold in a position so that we don't fall, we don't go off somewhere that's going to cause a lot of problems or hurts in our lives, to lend strength to when we're weak, to provide or maintain by supplying with money or other necessities. Now, I've seen that as a true fact, not only in my own life, but in other people's lives, how God will actually lay it on someone's heart to help someone who is in need. That's happened to me. I have a friend right now in Colorado Springs, and she's gone through a lot of surgeries, a lot of heartaches, and a lot of financial disasters. And a year ago, she got a miraculous blessing from God when an aunt that she really didn't know that well had passed away and left her a good amount of money so she could actually get a new vehicle, because even with her hip that had been placed wrong when she had an accident and things like that, she ended up having to walk several blocks before she could call an Uber to take her to the medical clinics, the medical facilities. Why? Because she didn't have enough money to pay for the Uber all the way, and her vehicle had broken down to the point where she wasn't able to fix it anymore. That was a huge miracle, and it gave her finances to go on and to get some, bills paid. Well, now she's going through something similar, but it's amazing how somebody will send her $50, somebody will send her $100, somebody will buy her groceries, And it's usually the people that have been through that themselves. They know what it feels like. She and I actually have been helping each other. Who's ever in the most need, we help each other. But that's one of the things that when we go through tough times and we go through trials, we have a heart. We have the hearts to help other people when they're in need, when they're suffering, when they're lonely, whatever the case may be. And so think about that. So in what areas do you need support? We all need support in certain areas, even if it's just motivation and love and encouragement. I was watching on Netflix, kind of binged on something. I think it was called Love 101, and I thought, okay, this hopefully isn't your typical Hallmark typical story. Well, it was several episodes and a couple seasons, and oh my gosh, I mean, it was so full of the hurt and the homelessness and people banding together and hatred from others and people being nuts. I mean, it was an excellent movie, and I could highly recommend it because it shows so many things that people went through to finally, as teenagers. It was mainly started out as teenagers and their families, but it was powerful. Love 101 on Netflix, and lots of life lessons in there, and it was just, I was really glad to see the ending that it had in it, though. And so think about that. But, sometimes it could be something that you need support. It could be a restraining order against someone. I understand that. Child care help so you could go to school or get a job where you could make more money or, anything like that. Where do you need support? A lot of times we don't want to ask for help. And that was one of the things in this movie. This kid was pretty much on his own at 14, and just all the brokenness and everything, and how it ended because he finally asked for support towards the end of the movie. Okay, but this was really, really good. So examine and ask, where do you need support? Sometimes pride gets in the way and we think, oh, I'm not asking for help. I'll look like I'm a big loser, or like I can't handle things on my own. No, we all need to do that. And I would encourage you, if you need support in an area, you need help, you need encouragement, pray for people that will come across your path that will be there to help encourage you. And that's been happening to my friend, like I said, in Colorado right now. As I pray with her and we pray over those things, people are coming to help her in her time of need. And so ask where you can get that support. So, just ask God, where are the people, where are the places, what are the opportunities that will help provide for me what I need right now? I know, and pride a lot of times gets in the way and we're embarrassed, but everybody needs help and support in some area. Could be a pastor, it could be a godly support group, it could be a particular teacher, medical facility, whatever the case may be. Many years ago, I was a finishing teacher at a school that's no longer here, and so I had a certain amount of the students that I was sort of like their counselor, coach, whatever, and I had not had the education, if you want to think about it that way, to really do that, but I had the heart. And there was a gal in there, and I remember her name was Jana. This was years ago, and she always looked angry. She always looked down at the floor. She really didn't want to get involved any more than necessary. When I would talk to her privately, she would mumble a little bit, but she just, I don't know what she had been through, but it had been a lot, and she just was really pulled back and into herself, and very humble, but just always seemed angry. And so it was about, I think, close to a year later, she sent me a letter, and I was shocked because she wanted to thank me so much for how much I cared about her and how much I helped her get through the issues that she was dealing with. And I was like, really? I didn't know that before, because she never acted that way. But I was so grateful that she poured out her heart to me later and thanked me for everything. And I noticed too that some of the girls who were under another teacher's counsel, so to speak, were coming to me because they could tell I had a heart that really cared about them and what they were going with. I mean, we had one girl, and these are people out of high schools into kind of a business school, business and fashion school, and she didn't know how to read, and she had graduated from high school. And so, there are a lot of times when we have to recognize something, we see something that we help. Even in that movie last few nights that I was watching, one guy who seemed pretty hard, he realized that these are people, these are kids, they're troublemakers basically because of the wounds, the hurts that they have, and then approached it from that angle, and all of their lives changed because of it. So think about that. People, places, things, opportunities. Again, for people who are shy, look up some groups that are online that they meet by Zoom. So you don't have to even say anything. A lot of times you can just watch, but then you can learn to participate. That's one of the best ways for someone who's very shy, maybe doesn't feel like they have the nice clothes to get into the organizations they want, whatever the case may be, to find some things of interest to you that have Zoom meetings once a month online. You can find anything on YouTube, but also connect that way and start learning till you're comfortable communicating and seeing how other people act. Watch their mannerisms, watch their facial expressions, which say everything, and learn from these people as they speak. Learn if they act confident or not, and what their story's all about. So that's one of the easiest and quickest ways to do that. Okay, depression. Oh my gosh, everybody's in a bit of depression. I don't remember the percentage, but right now, the percentage of people in America, something like, what was that, 65, 70%, I don't know, it was some awful amount, are on some sort of an antidepressant or something. I get it, I understand it, because of all the struggles, but depression is something that can really get into a person, sometimes for a lifetime, other times it's for a season, okay? And so think about that little monster of depression, and it could be linked to anger, unforgiveness, things that were a lot of times said to them, that were done to them, okay? So when depression hits, if you need to think about it for 10 minutes, write some notes, write how you feel, journal everything out, and then stop. Because if we mull on it, think about it day and night, whatever we think on, that's what we're going to bring back into our lives. And I understand this firsthand with depression. And we cannot let it rule our lives. We have to rule its presence and say, out of here. And you can do it. You really can do it. And so a lot of times, again, it's anger, could be unforgiveness towards yourself, towards a parent, towards a sibling, towards somebody at school, a partner, whatever the case may be. But then we can get depressed, and then we get into unforgiveness. And unforgiveness will not do anything for you but help to eat at your insides and not keep, and will keep you from actually going forward. So, sometimes it's better, and I've read this over and over again, and it's true. Fix yourself up. Get dressed. For ladies, put on some makeup, and then go somewhere. Go for a walk. Go to the mall. Do something where you're getting out and your sights are focused on other things besides, oh my God, what am I going to do about this and that? So really, fix yourself up, feel better, look better, go out and get a coffee if nothing else, and just people watch. You learn so much when you people watch. I love to do it because you can just tell a lot of things that are going on by how they're communicating with their partners, whatever the case may be. I was telling a lady the other day when we were working, in an event, and it's kind of like, you know what? I've been watching the couples, most of them married, and seeing which ones love and respect each other. They talk gently and kindly to each other, but you can tell it goes beyond just that experience. You can tell how knit together they are as couples. And then you can see other ones. One lady, her husband just kind of pushed her forward to try the products that we had, and she just turned around and snapped at him and bit his head off, and everybody around there could see it. And then she did it a second time. Okay, so there was obviously some deeply ingrained things that were going on there. But watch people, watch how they act. And a lot of times we can learn a lot of lessons on how we can act to other people that's favorable, that's good, and not something that's going to be considered negative or somebody that people don't want to be around anymore. So think about that. Window shopping sometimes. I've heard of people who prayed really hard for a nicer home and they didn't have the money, but they would literally drive into the areas where they wanted to live and ended up, because they focused on it, they worked on it, they weren't going to let go of that vision, they actually ended up getting that house because they kept moving forward and not just sitting there or looking backwards at what had happened up to that point. Call a friend for coffee and chat. That can be good as long as the conversation, so we have to vent. A lot of times we have to vent. And I've had people say to me, oh, I'm sorry, I just needed to vent. And I said, hey, that's okay. I've done it too. But then once it's gone full circle, we have to get back to what are we going to do about it? And then start working on some resolution. And so that's very important, not to stay in the venting every single conversation, but start working on ways to move beyond that. And so a lot of times I will put on Christian music or very relaxing music and just kind of try to pray and be quiet to settle down, to be quiet, but also it feels good because you release yourself from all that angst that's around you. So I'd highly recommend listening to some good relaxing music instead of some of the really hard headbanging stuff that keeps us in that mode. And so taking a walk is really, really good, and praying if you can then, but that's always a good thing to do. If it's too cold like it is right now, hey, go to a mall and walk, and that would be fine. So think of what 3 ways or 3 things that you can do to break depression and help you refocus, okay, when that depression hits. Sometimes people like to get on, like I said, YouTube or AAA. Look at places you would like to go and feel like you're there, whether it's in the tropics and you're relaxing. I mean, seriously, people do this and it changes their whole mindset. Or maybe you want to go skiing and look at those type of pictures, but look at travel photos. Maybe they're doing certain sports and you want to get into that sport. What you should do is watch that, see their techniques, see what they do. Golfers do that, tennis players do that. So get into a mode of what would be fun, what you'd love to do. Sometimes just looking at some beautiful flowers helps somebody to feel better and heal. Dancing in your living room to music on YouTube, or just music of in my case, the oldies. I love 70s and 80s music because I think that's the best. And so, do that. Sing along with it. Sing in your car. Those things really can release a lot of that stress and that pressure. And might be that, hey, you know what? I need to call this person and apologize because it has put up such a wall between us, and we used to be the best of friends. Sometimes that's all it takes. Might be a little humiliating, it might be tough to do, but your life can transform immensely, brings relationships, families, friends back together just by something that simple. And then gratitude. I talk to people, including myself, and I'm going through, why don't I have a better car? Why don't I have a nicer place? I'm too embarrassed to have anybody over. Oh my gosh, it goes on and on and on. And I've been talking to my niece about some of that too, and I said, you know what? We can see, we can hear, we can walk, we can talk. We have food in our refrigerator. We have enough, income to come in and to provide for us. And I started thinking, you know what? There's so many people that be in the hospital there, they're dying, or they've, gone through amputations like my mom did, or so many things. Think of all the people over in the other parts of the world who are suffering so badly. And I was in Haiti. I know what it's like. It's horrible. And so sometimes we have to get to that point of, okay, I don't like this and that, and I'm feeling bad about this and that. No, seriously, I'm still doing it a lot. Now, I have to go into gratitude mode and go, I can see, I can hear, I can walk and I talk. I'm not in the hospital this time. I've been several times. But all of these things. And gratitude can lift people out and really help them move on to the goal that they want or the life that they want because they're so thankful for what they have. And a lot of times people have to be thankful for where they are before they're able to move on to where they want to be. So please think about that. And then, unforgiveness and guilt and anger that eats us alive. Scientific studies have shown that anger, constant anger and unforgiveness can literally change the cells in our body and cause things like cancer, body decay, right? I know a lot of times with certain things we eat that can really mess up our bodies can do that too. But literally, it can cause disease. I know a lady, I won't mention her name, but A lot of people know her, and she's in the restaurant industry, I'll say. And she needed to lose over 100 pounds. She had gotten to the point where she could hardly move. She had to have someone hold onto her arm to help her walk up a curb from a parking area into a business. She had gotten so tired, her body was in so much pain that she literally thought on a Christmas Eve she needed to commit suicide because she couldn't take it any longer. She was weak, she was tired, she was in so much pain, and then it was kind of like something just hit her, and she thought, I can't do that. I can't leave my kids. What am I going to do? And she had read enough about the keto diet, and especially being in the restaurant industry, that really interested her. And so she went on a keto diet, and when I saw her several months later, it was at the farmer's market down in Omaha where I saw her, it was like, oh my gosh. She had lost 95 pounds at that point. All of her pain was gone, all of her medications were gone, and she ended up going to Alaska and going on like rappelling and walking across one of those rope bridges that would just scare the life out of me. And climbing, she was doing all these things where before she had to have somebody lift her or help her to get up a curb. Okay, her life totally changed, and it was like, oh my gosh, look at me now. I've lost my weight, I'm strong, I'm off all my medicines, my body's fine, it doesn't hurt. But what did that take to get there? A whole lot of determination. And she had to literally go, hey, whoa, enough is enough. I need to do what I need to do to get better, to be a mom for my kids and her husband, wife for him. And so she did. But it was not easy. I heard her testimony before all this, and she went through some really, really hard things, like having to go get earthworms at night and cut them in half so she could take her kids with her and she could have 2 worms instead of 1, and go to a pond, get fish in order to take them home and cook them so they had something to eat. Okay, so, but she did it. So it does take determination. It takes a total mind restructuring to go, no, I'm going to do this. And she did. And she's amazing. And so that's just one of like 50,000 stories. Hear all these stories of people, but it's like, I can't do this anymore. But I'm going to take the steps that I need to do. So please think about that. But again, unforgiveness could be like, you drinking poison, which what unforgiveness is, it's poisonous, but expecting the other person to die from it. Unforgiveness only hurts one person, and that's the one who has the unforgiveness in their heart. And so, like I've mentioned before in past programs, I learned this, like, Lord, please, I need to forgive this person. I don't know how. I have to. I want to, but I don't know how. And then he said, ask me to forgive her. It was a her, and then it was a him, whatever, through you. And I did, and he does. And so think about that, because, again, anger and unforgiveness will do a lot of damage, a lot of relationships, but you can't go forward and really truly be happy and be around the kind of people that want to be around you, because all that anger and all that complaining and everything is gone until that happens. So I'd really encourage you to do that. And then think about the last point in this one is we actively choose to be angry or not. And there's a lady named Marilyn Hickey. Gosh, what is she? She's like 88, 89, and she was going to go over to India on missions this year. But anyway, she thought about that. Do we choose to be angry, or can we just let it go? And I found out a lot of times lately, we can choose to let it go and go, nope, I'm not going to let that ruin my day. And so she said she had one of those bad hair days, like women know that especially. You want to put a sack over your head. But she was at church. They had a big church in Colorado, she and her husband. And she knew that her hair didn't look so hot. And this friend of hers came up to her and she says, oh, Marilyn, you look a little bad there, And she said, she laughed it off because she thought, oh, she's my friend. She's just joking with me. And then another lady came up to her that was kind of a burr in her saddle. And she said, Marilyn, you look terrible. Well, for one thing, that's a horrible thing to say to somebody. And she got really angry at that lady. And then a light bulb went on her head and she says, oh my gosh, I chose not to be angry at this lady, but I chose to be angry at that one. And so try it, you know, it's like, oh, I could be so mad at this person and I'm just so upset. Or it's like, okay, yeah, they were a real jerk, whatever the case may be. However, am I gonna let that ruin my day or my week or my life? Don't give them the satisfaction. And so it's like, choose not to be angry. That doesn't, I mean, if it's righteous anger and they did something, sure, but we still have to forgive and go on, okay? So think about that, but make your choices. You know, we gotta choose our battles too. We do, and not be angry at everything. I just told somebody that this weekend. So think about the choices that you're making and the breakthroughs that you want in your life. And think about how you want people to treat you, how you will allow people to treat you. If there's reminders of the past that are hurting you and keep coming back, kick them out. And then say the exact opposite, think something exactly opposite of that trigger that set you off. Honestly, it really works. So I'll continue this next program. Thank you. God bless.